This morning I was driving, and on the radio, the morning show, they started to talk about people that had extra appendages, so extra body parts, so people that were born with maybe 6 fingers, or apparently quite commonly people have a 3rd nipple. They're talking about it, inviting people to call in, and they had a number of people that called in that actually had 3 nipples. Then a guy called in, he had 4. He had apparently 2 nipples below where his nipples are. So 4 nipples. So they were joking with him, and he was really lighthearted about it. Apparently he doesn't feel insecure when he goes to the beach. And then I guess the producer of the show, or the sound guy or something, admits kind of quietly in the background that he also has a 3rd nipple. And they're like, oh my God, how did we not know this about you? And, it obviously doesn't come up. It's not like you're just at a staff party and you're like, hey guys, look, I've got a 3rd nipple, right? And this is the same thing about kinks, right? Kinks and people's sexual fetishes are not really something that's discussed. My point is that the guy with the 4 nipples was so relieved, though. He said, I didn't realize that this was so common. Like, I'm not insecure at the beach, and I'm totally like all for my 4 nipples, but I don't talk about it. And I thought that I was like really unusual, but they got non-stop calls from people that had extra body parts, or, little birth defects, or whatever the case, whatever you want to call it. And it turns out it is incredibly common. And I kind of feel like with my work as an online dominatrix and therapist, a lot of the time, mostly even therapist these days, I find that I am that person that enlightens my clients about the fact that there are a lot of people that are into the exact same kink as them. Now, kinks are interesting because some people can pinpoint exactly where their kink started, or why, or how it started. It'll have gone back to their childhood or in their teens. And yes, a lot of it does stem from trauma. There are stories that I've heard, many stories about when they were young teen boys, that they got basically raped, in the ass. And then in the end, it develops into a kink or fetish for enjoying anal sex, or even rough anal sex. But there are just as many people who are so confused as to why they're turned on by certain things. Why do they like feet? Why do they like feet more than boobs on a woman? Or why do they fantasize about cocks instead of pussies, right? Things like that. And they're absolutely baffled, and they don't want to pinpoint it. They don't want to know. But just hear me tell them that I have at least a dozen other people in a week that I do sessions with that exact same kink. Maybe a slight variety here and there to the fetish, but all in all, the exact same kink makes them actually, like, it's a relief, because they've been holding this in for so long, thinking that they were different and like way out of the box, unique. There was nobody else like them that was into this. I definitely feel that the internet and the amount of porn that is available online has brought about a lot of, or brought, forth a lot of people's kinks. So it is common knowledge that pornography is considered taboo. And, it can cause problems in relationships. It puts actually a lot of pressure on, I think, both men and women, really, because men are now comparing their penis size to, what they're seeing in porn, and women, well, it just doesn't go like that. The positions that are done, I mean, these are actually professional actors and actresses. And I think that is a big problem, is the fact that there are a large amount of people that really believe what they're watching is real, and that's actually how it goes. And the fact that it's so accessible by young people, like way minors, like big time, you know, their mind isn't completely developed. They might not know, you know, they might not be able to differentiate between fantasy and reality. And the fact is that there are also adults, lots of adults that talk to me every day that really truly believe that what they're watching is real. It's not acting. But yet, when you look at the statistics out there, or you watch any other footage or interviews, etc., with porn stars, you will quickly learn that probably about 99% of what you're seeing in porn or erotic film is acting. It's straight acting. And it is done for commercial reasons, to make money off of it. So back to one of the things that comes up. Here's an example. Brown showers. So actually watching somebody go number 2, and the thought of consuming it from underneath them is actually it's quite a popular fetish. There's quite a few people that are into that. Now, some of them are into it because of the extreme power that the woman, generally performing the brown shower, has over them. So it's the ultimate humiliation. But then there's this new generation that's getting into this brown shower fetish that is into it because they are visually seeing it on their computer, and they're seeing the hole open up and the feces coming out, and it's that image that turns them on. It's the image that turns them on. And then they want to try it out in real life. And they're calling for an in-person session for that. So I always like to ask, when somebody's calling for that, what is it that turns you on about it? Is it the power? Is it just you've seen it online and it turns you on? Or when you're out and about in everyday life, let's say you've walked into the bathroom right after a female comes out of the bathroom and it smells like boo-boo in there. Do you like that smell? Does it turn you on? This new generation admits that actually no, that it turns them off. It doesn't. It's gross. It smells like shit. But the older generation that was into brown showers actually liked that smell. It's the smell that turned them on. So you can only imagine that when a new generation person comes to experience this fetish in person, the experience is not anything like what they thought it was going to be, because they are turned off to the smell of poop, which the majority of people are. There's not too many people that I've actually heard of that love the smell. There are a few. There are a few people who love the smell of shit. They do. But most people don't. Most people do not like the smell of shit, and that's why we want to get out of the bathroom once we shit and get the hell out of the smell. So when you take somebody and with this fantasy and they're laying directly underneath the person who's about to go poop, and then the person starts to poop, you can only imagine there might be a turn on there watching that hole open up, with which you've seen on porn, which is your big turn on. But as soon as that smell hits your nose, you're ready to barf. So, and it's happened. It has happened with these new generation people watching porn to get aroused and thinking that that is going to arouse them. There is a smell factor that is not there for you when you're watching porn on a screen. You're not smelling that smell that could accompany that fetish, right? And also the rougher, more extreme porn that's out there would have never existed 20, 30 years ago. It just didn't. It would have been literally on the black market to find any kind of porn where somebody is literally being like rough fucked or throat fucked, which is these days, it seems like every time I turn around and come across another porn video online, the girl is literally gagging on a cock and he's pushing her head onto his dick and she's like making those choking sounds that seems to be a big turn on. The thing is that in real life, in the case of the brown shower, a fantasy is best left a fantasy. And again, connecting with somebody that does online services like myself, and I'm not trying to just plug myself here, but truly, you know, having somebody verbalize it to you or play it out with you online is probably going to be the biggest turn on compared to actually physically doing it. And, you know, I always do say, try everything once. Maybe you'll like it, maybe you won't. And then always try it a second time just to see if the first time was just a fluke, that you happen to hate it or that you happen to like it. To see if it is indeed something that you do enjoy. But then again, there's the shame there. There's the shame surrounding these unusual kinks that are actually becoming pretty mainstream. So like the young guy that I dated a couple of years back, he said that most of the guys, most of his friends, and including him, had tried foot jobs, getting a foot job. So a girl using her feet to jerk him off. Instead of a hand job, it was a foot job. Now, that is not really something in my generation, Gen X. You know, I could talk to 10, 20 different guys and girls my age, and nobody really has experienced a foot job unless they're really actually into feet and have a foot fetish, right? But like the common like throat fucking that I was just mentioning, and this type of like really, really extreme aggressive sex, and guys particularly, and well, females too, thinking that that's actually normal and that's how it's supposed to be, is disturbing.